Okay, so the next speaker up, I have been lucky enough to know for about the last 2.5 years. I met him when he was moving his distributorship onto competency, and we met through that, and we kind of hit it off. So if anybody knows Jake Malishkevich, he runs a distributor called Promodealer that he started with a small investment. 2 years after getting that small investment, he was doing $5 million a year in annual revenue. He has over 60,000 accounts with a 90% reorder rate. He went from having 1 employee with a great head of hair, that's him, to having 15 employees. And I asked his staff for a little bit of inside dirt about him, about this intro. So a couple of fun things to know about Jake. 1, he commonly leaves his keys in his motorcycle while it's running in the office parking lot. That's true. Number 2, he's about to be a brand new dad, which is amazing. And I think like the most amazing thing that I got out of emailing his staff was this quote that I would like to read out loud to everybody, so give me 1 second here. So when I asked for dirt, somebody wrote this. They wrote, "Jake is everyone's fiercest, most loyal advocate. I started at this company in production and quickly rose to production manager in a few months. Jake believed I could do better things and made me do sales. He offers advice on personal, financial, and professional matters. He is absolutely one of my best friends and as well the best boss anyone could ask for." So he's going to tell you guys a little bit about how to streamline your process, make your sales process easier for your salespeople. And I think that's a really good encompassing piece about how amazing his staff thinks he is. So let's welcome Jake up to the front.
Wow, man, thank you.
It's the nicest thing I'll ever say.
Oh my God, okay. So I'm Jake, hi guys. What an amazing intro. Aaron, thank you. I want to say, first off, thank you to the competency team. I think getting everybody together in this room, and when I say everybody, I mean specifically the most forward-thinking people, is not only difficult. I think that when you start from, you guys started as a distributorship, and then you thought, oh, how can we create this program? So you created this program, and then you said, you know what, there's a lot of people that think like us. Let's get them all in a room. Let's get everybody drinking, and then let's do it twice a year. So I think that we all owe a round of applause to the competency family. Seriously, guys are incredible. We appreciate everything you do for us. So the second thing I want to say is I had no idea that anyone had emailed our office. So thank you for the hair comment. The way that this specific topic came about was, and I believe it was a common SKU referral, a distributor had called asking about the service. And we sat down and we had a quick call. I think it was about 30 minutes, and the distributor asked, well, how do you run your distributorship? So we walked through the process, and I said, well, how do you run yours? And this lady, she was very, very nice, and if you're here, hi. And she said, well, the client, you know, this is how we sell, and so, you know, my outside reps go to the client, and they have conversations, and they talk about how they buy, and they, you know, 4 times a year, and blah, 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 all the salesy stuff that you're supposed to do and that you're supposed to say. So I then asked, okay, so what happens when your salesperson gets the order? And the distributor said, well, they get the order via email, and then they email a person inside the office who writes up a purchase order for the vendor, and then a different person sends an invoice back to the sales rep, and I'm going, so wait a minute, you totally respect your client's process, but you have almost no respect for your sales process. And that doesn't mean that it's bad. That just means that respecting your sales team and their ease is just as important as the client relationship with that salesperson. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, as a whole, and not just specifically in this industry, we so often look at the client purchasing process and we try to make it so unbelievably easy, and I'll get to that a little bit later, but we so rarely look at our salesperson perception of their selling process. And we so rarely ask, is it easy for you to sell? And my guess is just about everyone, if not everyone, sitting here today has at one point sold. And so sometimes we forget that ease leads to confidence, and confidence leads to sales. So that's how this all came about. And here we go. Okay, so this works. So who the hell am I? I've been in the promotional industry for 12 years, started the company back in college. So I started selling in a car dealership. Raise your hand if you've ever bought a car. Okay, now keep it raised if you had a good experience doing it. Okay, so it's getting better. It's getting better. That's great. I used to sell cars, and I always say, oh, by the way, before I continue, I'm kind of a tangent guy for those people that know me. So, we may look at some slides, and then we're going to go off for like 10 minutes, and then we're going to go back to the slides. So, anyway, I used to sell cars, and has anyone ever worked at a car dealership? Anyone? Okay, we have a couple. Okay, awesome. I love the business, and it is a fun business. And especially if you like sales, I always say to its core, it is the most pure sales process I have ever seen in my life. So when someone's like 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, they're like, hey, I really want to get into sales. My first recommendation is, why don't you try it in a car dealership? Because you're going to learn sales in like one day. Probably day 2, you won't want to do it anymore. Okay? Seriously. So the car business is that way because specifically in that industry, they do not empower their salespeople. That is their plan. That is not a negative towards the industry. That's not a negative towards car sales. But specifically in their model, they do not empower their salespeople. So stop me if I'm wrong here, but you look at a car, they're like, oh, you got to get in the car. You got to test drive the car. Okay, so you go test drive the car, and you come back. And they're like, well, the car is $20,000. I'm like, well, will you do it for $19,500? I got to ask my manager, right? Right? Everyone knows. Okay, I got to ask my manager. So they go there, they come back, blah, blah, blah. Well, I don't want it. They're like, well, I'm going to walk away. They're like, no, don't walk away. Let me get my manager. Hey, can you stop him from walking away? And then the manager comes, and there's no empowerment going to the salesperson. It all stems from the manager. It's not a model that I love, but it's a model that works for them. So when you're looking through these slides and you're listening to my presentation, there isn't anything that you're going to look at immediately and say, right now, I'm going to do this thing. I want you to look at sales as a whole. I want you to look at your people as a whole. And I want you to look at their process and not how you view their process, but how they view their process. So I was selling in a car dealership for about a year. I got recruited into this industry, and I started to do door-to-door promotional sales, and I wrote, this sucks. So I will tell you specifically in this industry, it's one of the most difficult door-to-door sales because typically, when you need your first promotional order, it's the vendor that can get you the product when you need it. Very, very difficult going door to door, doing that. So I was going door to door, and it's the same as cold calling, and I'm like, well, yeah, we sell promotional products. Well, why are you different? Well, we're not, and so on and so forth. So I built a website. I had a friend of mine was like much better at websites than I'll ever be. And this was 12 years ago, so I'm still terrible. And I borrowed an HTML book, and it was like for, I think it was second graders or something. And then we put up a web page. We did business immediately. It was awesome. And then I realized in today's day and age, and this was, again, 12 years ago, people really should be coming to you. And there will be a lot of talks in skucamp on this matter. But if you do provide the right kind of value, not necessarily monetarily, people should be coming to you. So we built the site, started Promodealer in 2006, and a lot of the value that we had, we would bring in mobile tech items, import them directly, low runs, everyone knows the drill. Except back then we had flash drives and then little MP3 players. You guys remember those little MP3 players that everyone used to do? Yeah, thanks, Apple. So those are gone. And we started the business that way, and then we said, well, wait a minute, if you buy these products, you can buy other products. And we immediately ran into a bottleneck. Okay, so before we get to the bottleneck, one of the facts, and if everyone has a sheet, if you don't, I think they're up there. It's a Jake fact. So not necessarily an everyone fact, but it's a Jake fact. And I wrote, most static occurs to salespeople and not to clients. I know that the first thing that you think about when you wake up is, how do I remove the static from the client? Well, most static happens to your sales team, and that is the truth. So our bottleneck number one was the sales closing would often choke at the proofing stage. So I don't know if that happens to you guys now, but years ago it happened to us. And what would happen is we would send the client a quote. We would request a proof from the vendor. We would show the proof from the vendor to the client. We'd receive an order from the client. We'd send vendor the order and artwork. We'd receive a confirmation, send the client then a vendor proof. Then we would wait for the client to approve a vendor proof. And that would be a vendor proof. Does that look familiar? Yeah, who can sell that? Okay? So we said, guys, there's way too much technology on this planet for us to have to close business this way. To be clear, that is not the supplier's fault. That was our fault. To be totally clear, if by any stretch of the imagination you believe that sending this to your client and getting their approval takes the responsibility off of your shoulders when they get the wrong product, you are wrong. Fair? Fair. Okay. So we said, this is just not going to work for us. And back then, this is the way everybody did it. Okay, so it was like, not even a question. You send it to the vendor. They send you back this circle with a logo, and then you're like, well, this is what you're going to get. So what we decided to do, which was in our office very radical, because remember, I got recruited, and so there were people who was in this industry for like 15 years. We said, you know what? We are no longer going to request nor approve vendor proofs. So I know it was like, are you crazy? You're going to screw up all the orders, and oh my God. Okay, so what we did was we began submitting orders with in-house design proof and artwork. Every single one of our sales team were trained in Photoshop in creating virtuals and modifying art if necessary. Does anyone do that today? Awesome. Yeah? Awesome. So back then, it was a little bit wild, and literally everyone in the office was like, Jake, we're going to screw up every order. There's no way that we can submit proofs without requesting proofs back. This is impossible. I want to say our business went up 40 to 50% when we made this internal change. So, by the way, guys, I'm going to run this presentation in a way that you can ask questions at any point. You want to interrupt me, go ahead. If there's anything you want to add, great, because I think everyone can get value from anything that someone says up here today. So, we take full responsibility for the proof with the vendor and with the client. And so what that means is, at no point are we going to go back to the client and say, well, you approved this, so this is what, we take that responsibility. If the client received something they did not believe they were going to receive, that is our fault. That is not the client's fault. That is not the vendor's fault. That is our fault. So, how does this relate to sales? In the entirety of my sales career, empowerment creates confidence. And so when we were able to empower our sales staff with having total and complete control of the sale from art to vendor control to marginal control, and we'll get into that. They were able to make not only their own decisions, but excellent decisions, and in many cases, better decisions that I can make. And to give you an example, a lot of the time when new salespeople start, and they start as an account coordinator and not an account manager, and if you guys ever have any questions on how we set up our distributorship, go ahead and ask. So they'll come into my office and they'll say, hey, Jake, I have this order, and this is my third or fourth order with a client. What price do you think I should go in at? And I answer the same way every single time. I don't know, it's not my client. Every single time. We have a very, very strict ask for forgiveness and not for permission policy. I suggest you do the same. Fact, creating easy paths for sales leads to easy experiences for the customers. If there's anything that I would really love for you to walk away with, it's you make the sales process easy, and you give your salespeople or yourself, empower yourself, the confidence to sell. That will instantly, not in a year, not in 6 months, not in 1 month, that will instantly carry over to your client's journey, instantly. Okay, so if everyone has the sheet, if they don't, that's okay. If you could just write down what are the easiest experiences in your life. And, I wrote the Amazons, the Apples, the Netflix. What are the easiest experiences for you? The not so obvious. What's your favorite restaurant? Your landlord? What's your relationship with your landlord? What's your process there? Bank, grocery store? How easy is it to pay your mortgage? Who's your favorite supplier? Sorry, suppliers. Why? Why are they your favorite? Write it down. We'll spend 20 seconds. And think about the process itself. Think about what makes it easy. And like I said in the beginning, the entire reasoning for this presentation, for my talk today, is for you to judge every sales interaction that you have moving forward. Judge every sales interaction that you have moving forward. I do not go to a restaurant without wondering why the line is over there and not over there, and which manager set it up this way. Judge every interaction that you have moving forward. So, I'm going to jump into some personal experiences, and these judgments and why I make them hopefully are going to be pretty clear here. And if anyone has a similar experience, let me know. If you disagree, stay quiet. So, okay. I'm not going to call one out or the other. I don't think it's right to do that, but we deal with 3 specific shipping vendors. I'm sure you guys all do the same. These sound very, very familiar. I'm going to give you a quick story, and specifically before I came up here, Mark's like, if you see it glowing red, that means you're going over time, so I'm going to make this, story as quick as possible. So, with UPS, FedEx, and USPS, one is not like the other 2. And I'm going to explain why. So, 2 of them, on completely separate occasions, their reps walk into our office, and so you have domestic reps, you have international reps, we do both. A few questions that we asked were, what are your rates? How quickly can you get it from point A to point B? How much will this cost? Who's our rep? Can we get a meeting? All very, very quickly answered, right? It seems pretty simple. If you're in the shipping business, these seem like really simple questions. On we go to the third vendor. Now, this third vendor, I reached out personally to what I thought was a local rep 4 separate times without a callback. Finally, someone cold called us and said, oh, hey, we hear that you do a lot of shipping. I'm like, listen, mofo, I've called you like 4 times. You kidding me? Come on in. Sure. So they come in, by the way, as very, very nice people. They come in, and we're having this meeting. It's the same meeting I've had 1,000,000 times, but now with this third vendor. What are your rates? I'll get back to you. Okay? Do you know what kind of business we're in? Yes, they did their diligence. You're in promotional products, and you ship locally, and you do programs, and now you do some international inbound and blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, so this rep has the knowledge. There's no doubt about that. They have the knowledge. Every question that I asked that made them commit to something was not answered. So I'm going to repeat that. Every question that I asked that forced a commitment was not answered. What does that tell you? Anyone? Throw it out. What does it tell you? What's the first thought that comes to your mind? No power. No power. This is not their fault. I want to be very, very clear. This is not their fault. There was not one commitment I walked out with on that meeting. There was not one piece of information I had that I didn't have before the meeting ever started. They were so scared to make a commitment because they knew they'd have to justify it to their boss. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. The other two were fine. So another situation I had was a local furniture store. So I walk in, and the store is literally, if this is our office, this is the store. It's next door, okay? Big, but probably 10 of these rooms full of beautiful, beautiful, beautiful furniture. I walked in, and I'm looking, and I'm like, oh, hey, this is a really nice accent chair. How much is this accent chair? No salespeople. Okay, so I walk back. How much is this accent chair? And he comes over, he goes, yeah, you know, that is a really nice accent chair. Let me check. And he goes back to his thing, and he looks online, and he's like, it's $300. I'm like, okay, what colors does it come in? Well, let me check. So he goes back, okay, he comes back to tell me, I'm like, okay, well, this is the way they do business. It's fine. You know, you can't have, okay. Can you get it delivered next week? I have to ask my manager. I don't know. We have shipping, we have this. I have to ask my manager. I'm like, okay. Come back the next day. The manager's there. One of the meanest people I've ever met in my life. I felt bullied, okay? So I'm like, all right, fine. So I'm like, I really like this accent chair. Can you help me? Yeah, sure. What room is it going in? It's going in this room. Okay, well, let me show you the thing. And she, pulls up and she draws out the room, and it takes her like literally 5 minutes. But she's like, well, when do you need it? I'm not sure. I can get it to you next week. So I ask her, I'm like, why did I need to come to you for this? I was here yesterday. I spoke with one of your salespeople. She's like, that's the way I want it. I didn't order anything. On this planet, I'll never understand why a manager would want that from her sales staff. I have no idea. Okay? There's a lot of amazing furniture experiences out there, but when you're reviewing, when you're going through numbers, ask yourself, how are you empowering your people to be successful? Construction. Anyone done construction? Yeah, it sucks. There is no positive story that can be told about construction. I don't care who you are, it doesn't exist. A positive story does not exist in that industry, okay? It doesn't. It's the least transparent process I've ever seen, but what's really cool, and the reason I put it up there is I have done a lot of construction, and it sucks every time, except every new time it sucks with different challenges. It's terrible. So we have back in Chicago. Anyone from Chicago? Yeah, all right, sweet. You guys are awesome. So We have a really cool store in Chicago. It's called Heirloom. And I just want to use them as a really quick example because I can use all hour on construction stories here. So no matter what quote I've ever gotten, it is the least transparent quote ever. Ever. Hey, how much for floors? $10,000. Okay. I didn't even tell you what room. Yeah, this is $10,000. Okay, cool. So transparency, to be clear, is unbelievably valuable. And we're going to get into that in the next slide. But we have a store in Chicago called the Heirloom, and you go in, and they're just like, they set up models, and they're beautiful, and they charge like 5 times the amount, but they can, because they're so transparent in everything they do, and they put all these projects, and they make a really, really complicated and difficult and boring and monotonous process, and they really dumb it down, and they do it well. So I urge you, if you ever want a really good example of how to do things, how not to do things, do a really small construction project, and you'll see. Really, really small. Go really, really small. Retail. Who thinks retail's dead? Everyone, right? Okay, retail. And I should say stores. Stores like brick and mortars, okay? Everyone's like, oh, yeah, like that's it. They're going out of business. And I thought that way too. And there's so many amazing examples, guys, of people who do brick and mortar right that I don't even have the time today to go through, but definitely look at some really cool brick and mortar experiences. In fact, I wrote an article in Chicago. They opened a new Apple store. It's incredible, but that's not what this is about. So to me, the old way of brick and mortar is dead. And what I mean by that is, the people from Chicago, who knows Apt Electronics? Yeah. You guys know Apt? Apt? Anyone outside of Chicago know Apt? Yeah? Okay. Awesome. So I'm going to tell you something about this store. There it is. That's Apt. They sell electronics, appliances, the same stuff you can get at Best Buy, for example. Everyone knows Best Buy? Does anyone know about their average annual sales for a Best Buy store? Anyone? Call it out if you know it. Or close? Guess. Someone guess. No guesses. You have no guesses on a retail for, it's 20 million. 20. It's about 20. $23 million on average. Can anyone guess what Apt does annual? Even if you're from Chicago, guess it out. Good guess. 400. Who said that? You? You? 400 million. It is a 400 million single store electronics operation. Okay? I implore you, if you are ever in Chicago, stop by this operation and see it because it is frickin' magnificent, and not because of these pictures. They have the most empowered salespeople I have ever seen in a retail organization. It's from top down, and they put so much value and responsibility on every salesperson that they have. Chicago guys, do you agree? Who have visited the store, do you agree? So I have a personal friend of mine at Apt, and he's an incredible guy. So I sat down, I'm like, guys, how is it that you could do 20 times a competitor like Best Buy with close to no advertising? In comparison to Best Buy, it is no advertising. And he goes, our salespeople have the right to make any decision they want. And that is incredible. When you can walk into a store and say, can I get the TV delivered tomorrow? Can I get, now they're into mattresses. Can I get furniture? Can I get my washer dryer? Yes. Yes. If you need it tomorrow, I'm going to find a way to make it happen. Can I have 10% off? Maybe I can do 5%. There is no asking the manager. There is no fear of committing to anything, and it's incredible. 400, and by the way, they don't publish their numbers, so 400 million is kind of like what Chicagoans put. It's really closer to 5, but everyone knows it's over 4. So I even asked him, actually, I'm like, can you give me a figure? He goes, yeah, sure, I'll be fired, but no. So he's like, say it's over 400 million. I'm like, all right, fine. So it's an incredible thing. I have an example. So I am going to be a dad for the first time, very excited about it. And we're going through, yep, psyched. And we're going through, and has anyone shopped for strollers before? It's so fun. We go to one retail store. I don't want to yell out the name of the store, but we go to one retail store, and we come in, and there's like literally 60 strollers. The only difference between strollers, by the way, is the names. They all look alike. They all do like the same thing as far as I'm concerned. So anyway, we come through, and my wife's like, hey, can I try this stroller? And the lady comes out, and she's like, yeah, sure. And my wife goes, well, what if I want to put a car seat on? And she goes, I think you pull so she wasn't entirely sure how to put it, but it's okay because strollers are so difficult. My wife goes, do these things ever go on sale? She goes, yeah, I think once in a while there's some sales and, whatever. I was like, okay, what colors do they come in? And you kind of get like this, I think it's like blue, and she was just so scared to make a commitment, so we're leaving. Oh, it's Up a Babies was the name of the type of stroller. So we're leaving. And my wife goes, yeah, no, that's not the stroller for me. She's like, it was fine, but it's just like, I don't see myself pushing. I'm like, okay, whatever. So the next week, and this was now a week ago, we go into a different retail store. We see the same damn stroller. My wife goes, can I get some help with this thing? I'm like, are you shitting me again? So a lady comes, she goes, yeah, so if you have 2 kids, it goes like this, and if you want to put the car seat in, it goes like this, and then if you want to take the bassinet and put it out, and then you can walk around with the bassinet, and my wife goes, this thing's really nice. Do these ever go on sale? And the lady goes, never go on sale. It's the best stroller brand you can buy. Why would it ever go on sale? We're walking away, and my wife goes, I want that stroller. And so you look at the very core, the very basic, this is as emotional a purchase as you get, how unbelievably important confidence was for my wife in her purchasing decision. How unbelievably important it was. It was the same stroller in the same color. But she's going to get it from this store. So now we go into confidence. And to be very clear, yes. I'm sorry, it's apt. It doesn't. It's the last name of the family that owns the store. Yep. So what confidence does not mean. In no way, shape, or form am I trying to say that confidence means cocky. I have all the answers, or I know everything about everything, or I know all, you know nothing, and I'm an asshole. That's not what confidence is, okay? To state it as clearly as I can, especially in our industry, confidence means that the client can trust you with their job. It's that simple. At the end of the conversation, when the client is thinking about will they or won't they go with you, there's only one question that they're thinking about. Can I trust you with my job? Confidence is the easiest pathway. Confidence is the simplest pathway to ease transactions. So if all you're thinking about is, well, how do I make a really clear, how do I make an incredible and amazing customer journey? Start with salesperson confidence. Another fun fact. The client's perception of your confidence will directly impact whether or not they buy, or in our case, whether or not they sign with us as the promotional merchandise vendor. The client's perception of confidence, of your confidence, will directly impact whether or not they buy. Their perception of your confidence. And a salesperson confidence will only be as high as their ability to make the decision. your salesperson perceptions of ease will directly impact their sales. So you've had discussions internally on cutting out static for the customer. Awesome. Just kidding. Who cares? And the reason that I say that is clients expect ease. It's expected today. Okay? Anything that you buy, the clients expect for it to be easy. It's a standard now. Okay? You don't wake up going, well, I hope this purchase is going to be easy. No. You wake up going, this purchase is going to be easy. Not I hope. This purchase will be easy. But have you discussed the sales journey? What is your employee's experience? How confident is your team after placing the order? And I wrote very important because we've had internally a lot of times where salespeople were afraid to place orders because they didn't know what was going to happen after. To be clear, this was before competency. And it was like one person, I get into it in the next screen, but it was 5 different people doing 5 different things. And so we got to a point where the sales team was afraid to place orders because they didn't know when their clients were going to get them. Imagine the conversation if you're a salesperson with the client if you don't know what's going to happen after the sale. It's crazy. It's crazy. How do you ease the stress for your salespeople? So I really wanted to talk to you about your salesperson perception of ease because that's really, really important. How much power do your salespeople have over the sale? And by power, I mean, do they have full margin control? Do they have full promotional control? Sample controls? One of our salespeople came up, an account manager, and she said, hey, I just closed this account with this client. While I was walking my dog, she emailed me a quote, so I sent her back a picture of my dog. She sent me a picture of her dog, and now we're talking dogs, dogs, dogs. Can I send her a bark box? Does anyone know what a bark box is? I'm like, shit, yes. Are you kidding me? That's awesome. Yes, you can send her a bark box. Sorry, it's a subscription for dogs, and it comes. Yeah, it's like one of those subscription boxes, and it comes with like a bunch of like stuffed animals and some snacks and just dog stuff. So that showed me that not only does she have full control, because I know it, that showed me that she knows it, and that is so much more important. That is so much more important. She asked, but she did it. And it was just such an excellent example of, I know my customer better than you know my customer. So I'm going to do this thing. On your sheet, you can write it down or you can circle. It says, how would your salespeople rate you, or you rate your manager on a scale of 1 to 10, on how much confidence they have in making decisions under you? And so what I really want you to think about here is when your salesperson is in front of a client, on the phone with a client, having a conversation about your industry, your product, your company, on a scale of 1 to 10, how comfortable do you believe they are making a commitment? Anything but 10 is not good enough. Anything but 10 is not good enough. Empowering your sales team to make commitments is the single greatest strategy for growth. Make the commitment. Geez, what's the worst that can happen? And guys, I'm not talking about $1 million order that's going to put you under. I'm talking about day-to-day stuff here. Make the commitment. So you screw it up, who cares? My gosh. People are so afraid to make mistakes that they can't even sell a product. The next exercise I want to talk about is what you hate. When you go into a purchasing journey, what are some things that you hate? Throw them out there. Let's hear it. You walk in, you hate blank. Knowledge? Lack of knowledge, agreed. What else? Yes. Are you reading something up? No. Yes. Yes, lack of transparency. Unavailability, agreed. God, that's the worst. I'm totally with you guys. Called out every single one. Okay. Speaking to several people for one purchase. Why do I have to talk to more than one person? Oh my God. In today's day and age, I'm still talking to more than one person to buy a product? It should not be that hard. Nothing should be that hard. Not having all the available information at my fingertips. Are you shitting me? Come on. It's 2018. We're not building rocket ships. It's 2018. I should know anything I want to know about the product immediately. Do we agree? Do we agree? Thank you. It should be very easy. Transactional difficulty. Multiple steps to buy. Come on. Jeez. And I'm talking about literally paying. We're onboarding a new advertising agency for our search campaigns, and they're really great, and they're out of the country. And I knew there was going to be some issue, and I really wanted someone international to get a totally, different perspective on our campaigns. And so far, it's been great, so I have nothing bad to say about them. But I will tell you, when we started going, they were like, I'm like, okay, let's do it. Let's sign up. And I was walking away from my old agency, and I'm like, all right, let's do it. Let's sign up. And they're like, yeah, our legal will get back to you in a week. I'm like, a week? What legal? We're talking about nothing. We're talking about practice. Does anyone? No? All right. We're talking about nothing. Come on. So a week passed. We got the legal. Then they're like, well, now we're going to need another week to do some other. Like, guys, come on. Just let's start. Let's get started. Let's get the onboarding started. Come on. Difficult return or reverse policy. This goes back to proofing, okay? It's our fault. You're sending a big circle with the logo in the middle, and your client approves it, and they hate it. It's your fault. Take it back, okay? Ease that transition for your client. If they hate it, it's your fault, period. Non-transparency, the worst. You're going to love construction. Non-transparency. Every time I get a quote that's not broken out, I always feel like they've got something to hide. Break out your quotes. This is what we're charging. This is why. Low confidence salespeople. To be clear, 99% of the time, it is not their fault. It is not their fault. Remember, search for ease in all things. Everywhere you go, every transaction you have, and I'm not talking about Amazon's really easy to buy. I'm talking about you walk into a good grocery store and a not so good grocery store. What's the difference in your interactions? What's the difference? How do you apply that to your business? A little bit about how we were structured and what we do now. So the salesperson would receive an order. We would send like an Excel spreadsheet to product before competency to production with the supplier details. And what's crazy is production would, get this, this is great, send in the purchase order. I'm going to read this word for word. Send in the purchase order, send the client the invoice, so our production would communicate with the client, follow up with the client to make sure that they approved the production proof and paid for their order, received shipping details, work with shipping vendors, and then with the client to receive the order. Well, guess what? Our production people had the highest reorder rate in the company, not our sales. I mean, it was crazy. It's crazy. And they bore all the responsibility. What we do now, thank you, competency, our salespeople, and you guys are more than welcome to email any one of them and ask if this is true. They have full control of the order. We call it sales without borders. Ask for forgiveness and not for permission. Close the sale if you feel like you have to close the sale. We'll talk about it later. We don't talk about margins daily. We don't talk about margins weekly. We review We'll review everything on a weekly or monthly basis as often as the salesperson wants, but under no circumstances am I going to come up on a daily, hey, what were your margins yesterday? And why were they this? You have to let the salespeople do what they do with confidence. The worst thing you can do is take away that confidence. And if you're the salesperson for your company, don't lose the confidence by being afraid to make decisions and commitments. Make that commitment, guys. Don't be afraid. Something we always say, sales don't matter, process matters. It's the first thing I say when we hire people, first thing I open up our weekly meetings with, sales don't matter, process matters. You follow the process, the sales will come. We're in an awesome environment. We belong to an amazing industry. We've got like the most forward-thinking people here in a room. Guys, there's so much business out there, it's not even a question. The sales will come if you do everything right. How are you structured? If you guys want to write it down, I think there's a little area for it. You receive an order. Now what? Write it down from the perspective of sales. What do you do now? Is it too complicated? Maybe not. Spend 10 seconds on that. I wrote this up there because I don't want there to be any confusion. Easy does not mean lazy. I don't ever want that to come into question because it doesn't. Those are two completely separate topics, okay? And lastly, nothing is forever. So we don't only accept change, but we empower change. We open our floor all the time. How can we do things different? What are we doing wrong that could work better? What in our process does not allow you to commit to an order because that is the most important question that we have? What in our process forbids you from commitment? We have one-on-ones all the time, sure. Most people here do. And if you're the main one selling, then have a one-on-one with yourself. Why aren't I able to close immediately? The immediate jump off from me would be, ask your top sales team or person or yourself how much power they believe they have over the sale, the account, and their decisions. Again, they should say full. And if they don't, why? Why? Thanks, guys. So we have a few minutes for questions, and I think we can... Okay, cool. So questions, comments, anything you guys want to... What's up? Sorry, I'll get over. Yeah. 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 Yes. We're going to be recruiting soon, so just say no. Really good question. And I'm really happy you brought it up because I'm sure a lot of people saw Photoshop on there and they're like, oh my God, there's no way I'm learning Photoshop. Are you shitting me with this? There's no way. Really good question. So to be unbelievably clear, our salespeople are not official graphic designers. However, Does anyone here know about, like, if you haven't done a mock-up before in your life, do you know, what would be your guess on how long it takes to do a mock-up? Good guess. It's about 5 minutes, okay? Teaching your sales team the competency of art and basic graphic design concepts does not turn them into a graphic designer. What it does is it allows them to have graphic design conversations with not only the client, because everyone who's ever sold a promotional product knows when you ask, well, is that a vector file? What the hell is a vector file? Well, how big is your logo? Shit, I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know how big my... As a salesperson, you need to answer those questions immediately. And we have found buyers are very visual. And so to create a mock-up takes all of about 5 minutes. And for the salesperson to send that back takes 10 seconds. And so, in fact, they're not graphic designers. They're in sales that understand graphic design. Now, can they come up with, you know, a template and a beautiful site and landing pages and HTML? No, that's not what they do. Their job is selling. To the degree that they can answer questions is how good of sales they're going to be. So this just adds to their knowledge. And you should see when one of our salespeople jumps on a call with a supplier graphic team, the way they chop it up, it's incredible. They're able to answer questions immediately. Our production is also very familiar with Photoshop. So they have immediate control over the order, and it's all about the control. Absolutely. 100%. Honestly, that point to me is 5 minutes. Seriously. Once it goes past 5 minutes, it's not your job anymore. Cool? Yeah. So when you say protects, okay, so compensation is tied to margin, if that's what you're asking. Yeah, there are commissions in place. But we have a very clear understanding that if you win, I win. So no, we have nothing in place that if they sell it at 0% margin and we lose money, then we're going to lose money. Now, I damn well better get an answer as to why, but I'm not going to ask before the sale goes through. I don't want any protections there because I need them to feel confident with the sale. They have every reason to sell at high margin. Every reason. Does that about answer it? Cool. Sure. I think so. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, so actually, Catherine, wherever you are, she did a great presentation, and you guys can pull it up from commonsku, on margin and how it's a state of mind. I can literally talk up here for an hour on margin. Catherine did an amazing job. She's a much better speaker. But specifically, we do have conversations on margin, but more about process than margin. Our industry should be a high-margin industry. I really believe that. We have a high-margin industry. So to me, margin is directly tied to confidence. You typically lower your margin when you're afraid of losing the sale. So my question isn't why is your margin low? Why are you so afraid of losing the sale? Fair? Yep. Sure. Your philosophy, your way of thinking, is that learned or innate? So very difficult, amazing question, but very difficult to answer. I would say that I've had really incredible sales managers. At 16, I worked at Circuit City. Anyone remember Circuit City? Nah, all right. So I really, really got along with my manager. He really, kind of pushed me on. Then I went to the car business. I mean, listen, the car business make you cry like the first 2 months. I mean, seriously, it's a very difficult business. But when you learn to respect the people above you and you really believe that they want you to succeed, you do well and you respond well. And I've been unbelievably blessed with the people who've kind of pushed me along in my life, if that answers your question. Yeah. Yeah, I call it production, but it's really like ops, like order taking, running common SKU, working with vendors. They don't actually make anything, but I call it production. Yep. Well, with common SKU, they are. They have full control of their orders. They're sending POs. They're sending invoices. My operations team takes over after when the vendor gets the order and when it's time to send tracking. But with common SKU, well done, guys. It looks like it's coming from my salesperson. That email looks like it's coming from our sales team. So to the client's perception, the sales does everything. They have no reason to talk to anybody else in the company. Okay? Guys, I think our time is running up, so I have to get the hell off. I'm going to get yelled at. I know I'm about to get so.
Jake, this is good.
Much, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Jake, thank you so much.